Donald Trump is pushing United States maps with Greenland, Canada, and Venezuela with American flags as new states. Canada and Greenland would probably turn Democrats once their electoral votes are computed, while Venezuela would certainly vote Republican, as Venezuelans are so happy with Trump that he removed Maduro and rewarded us with a new efficient Delcy Rodríguez regime. So Venezuela's 40 new electoral votes would perhaps turn Republican, so it would be convenient for Donald Trump to let Venezuela become a state as a protection from blue, democratic-leaning Puerto Rico, Canada, and Greenland as new states as well. While Venezuela would either be a Republican-leaning swing state or ruby red Republican, as we would certainly see how the Republican Party would infiltrate the Chavista PSUV party through the oil deals they are already making. Hopefully something similar will happen to Cuba and new interim government of Cuba, led by exiles investing in Cuba, rather than exiles who just complain but do not put forward any money. While it is soon to address how regime change in Cuba would be, Venezuelans will be happy to help, as it will be of utmost convenience that reinstitutionalization process in both Cuba and Venezuela are done in tandem, as Venezuela and Cuba are sister countries and should continue being so. President Javier Milei of Argentina congratulated Donald Trump for capturing former deposed dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. This entailed repudiation from hardline communist-leaning Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil, who again wrote a note of protest following his recent note of protest against Uruguay president. Foreign Minister of Venezuela should instead focus on Latin American unity. Latin American presidents will understandably continue complaining that there were stolen elections in Venezuela, while Venezuelan opposition is so deficient that it's actually a relief that elections were stolen in Venezuela anyway, which means that we are now in the position of preferring that elections were stolen rather than having given power to fascism. So, Foreign Minister of Venezuela must be more tactful, and he should not be too harsh on anyone who is complaining that Venezuela's elections were stolen, and should therefore concentrate in following Donald Trump's lead, who decided that Delcy Rodríguez is the best option for pacifying Venezuela while promoting economic development, and leave traditional Venezuelan opposition, who are eager to promote endless elections and protests and complaints, away. Now that President Delcy Rodríguez is changing cabinet members, it is recommended to change Venezuela's foreign minister to somebody more business-oriented and less aligned with Lavrov and the Chinese foreign ministers, who claim they have done a lot for Venezuela, while all they did was to sell us faulty equipment which was easily outpowered by United States military, and now we are in debt with Russia and China for having bought from them weapons that did not work. Jorge Rodríguez, President of National Assembly and brother of President Delcy Rodríguez, has proposed an extensive legislation package including 8 full new codes on business, on elections, civil code, penal code, hydrocarbon laws, as well as 29 new organic laws. National Assembly of Venezuela is expected to work around the clock to get upgraded legislation approved so that the international community willing to invest in Venezuela is welcomed by an attractive stability, security package never before known in Venezuelan history. Exiled opposition, of course, is not interested in anything of Venezuela succeeding. Venezuelan opposition will always root for failure. They will always say that unless they get into power, Venezuelans should continue suffering. That shall not be the case. National Assembly will approve new legislation that will be attractive for foreign investors. And Venezuela's gross domestic product shall significantly rise in 2026 and beyond. When we close 2026 in December, most of new laws will already have been implemented. Donald Trump has flown to Davos, Switzerland, to explain the wonders of United States sovereignty over Greenland, which is unable to defend itself and which has been horribly forgotten by Denmark, which has not promoted population growth, which has not promoted mining growth. Resources in Greenland remain untapped. Economic development is necessary. Military deterrence is urgent, and Donald Trump is determined to get a hold of Greenland. We shall remember that as Denmark recently rooted for regime change in Venezuela, Denmark should be coherent and allow regime change in Greenland as well. European politicians will have no choice but to comply in the terms explained from Donald Trump at Davos World Economic Forum. Consensus polling suggests that Democrats should win majorities in both Senate and House of Representatives. However, such polling was performed last year, 2025. In 2026, the balance of power has changed. Nicolas Maduro is gone. Venezuela has gone back into the Western Hemisphere sphere of influence dominated by the United States. Venezuela has become a protectorate and might need to become a new United States as a 51st, 52nd, or 53rd state if it becomes impossible to get rid of current protectorate status. Americans are happy that the military Venezuela operation was a complete success. There were virtually no casualties. There were little collateral damage. Nicolas Maduro was removed. Delcy Rodríguez is willing to deal with Donald Trump on mutually beneficial petroleum and rare earth deals. Venezuelans are happy with new economic development opportunities. A motion picture happy ending movie scene has already developed in real life, and Republicans shall be rewarded electorally by United States citizens unfamiliar with Venezuela but happy that this problem was solved. Venezuela has successfully been incorporated into the list of allies supporting the United States, which was supposed to be losing influence worldwide. In contrast, Russia has wasted 4 bloody years invading Ukraine, killing Ukrainians, letting Russians be killed, and as Donald Trump says, Ukraine-Russia war is a horror, never-ending. Vladimir Putin should have extracted Zelensky from Kyiv at the very first moment, rather than having engaged in this needless Ukraine-Russia war. Russia has spent 4 years in warring Ukraine while United States was successful in regime change for Venezuela in just a couple of hours. United States is much more efficient than Russia. Russia is unwilling to stop Ukraine war while United States is already helping Venezuela to rebuild. Russia needs to realize that its treatment to allies is deficient. Syria was an appetizer, and now Venezuela confirms that Russia does not care for its allies. Russia was supposed to be a great ally for Cuba, and even Cubans are not entirely happy with Russia, as Russia has abandoned Cuba when the Soviet Union collapsed. And that is why Cuba relied so much into Venezuela. Russia was never been particularly assertive in promoting economic growth in Cuba. It is necessary that the governments of Venezuela and United States jointly make a decision on how to promote regime change in Cuba. President Delcy Rodríguez is smart, and she is already conceding many inaccuracies of her former system of belief, while she pragmatically produces some of the best deals Donald Trump has ever been able to close. Delcy Rodríguez, Diosdado Cabello, and Jorge Rodriguez graciously walk through the gardens of Miraflores Palace in Caracas, showing unity. Fascist extremist exiled opposition of Venezuela complains that Venezuelan regime should be divided, and that is not the case. They are able to metamorphose, and Diosdado Cabello is actually showing signs of returning to its strong persona publicized on Wednesday night comedy shows. Venezuelan government has not collapsed. Venezuelan economy has not collapsed. Venezuelan economy is set to improve, and Venezuelans will not surrender our desire to engage in extensive economic growth just for the sake of placing career inefficient politicians of the opposition into power, who are threatening Venezuela not to have any economic growth unless a new war with the United States places them into power. They are already asking for a second wave of United States attacks in opposition to Donald Trump's gracious flattering of President Delcy Rodríguez. While most petroleum deals up to this date have concentrated on mature fields, green fields that have not been extensively set for production are becoming available as greenfield. Greenfield petroleum investment requires lots of capital and will be crucial for long-term development of Venezuelan economy. Massive investments in the hundreds of billions of dollars will be needed to make productive green fields. Donald Trump has promised that most American major oil companies will return to Venezuela or initiate operations there, as he is constantly working out details along with Marco Rubio and Delcy Rodríguez. Venezuelan petroleum recovery will include both brownfield and greenfield petroleum acreage. Friction may be occurring between long-term allies Russia and China. Russia was given intelligence that Venezuela would be invaded by the United States on January 3rd. Russia did nothing to prevent Chinese high-level diplomatic delegation that was meeting with dictator Nicolas Maduro on January 2nd at night, a few hours before being captured. United States invasion and capture of Nicolas Maduro occurred while that Chinese delegation was still in Venezuelan territory. Russia was advertised of everything that would follow, and they did not warn China about it. And they did not warn Nicolas Maduro either. Venezuela's alliance with Russia is extremely questionable. Lots of questions should be asked to the Russians. However, Russian Foreign Ministry only writes flattery in diplomatic notes while they fail to answer questions. And agreements with both Russia and China remain opaque, non-transparent. $300 million have been distributed from the Venezuelan central bank into private banks, and those funds were made available thanks to Donald Trump's new dealings with Venezuelan oil sales. That money has entered the Venezuelan economy through private banks, and already businesses concentrating in health and food have been able to purchase such foreign currency. Venezuela's rate of depreciation of our currency Bolivar should be progressively stabilized, although repressed demand of foreign currency has been so huge that this initial $300 million offer into the market should be seen as an initial stage rather than a permanent solution. As Venezuela's oil production increases and more sales are conducted at market prices, a flow of foreign exchange will enter through the Venezuelan private banking system, as injected by the Central Bank of Venezuela and the petroleum industry, and such stabilization of foreign currency demand should also provide a brake on high inflation. Foreign Minister of Russia, Lavrov. More than 2 weeks after the United States events, and he is still complaining about United States invasion of Venezuela and removal of Nicolás Maduro. Russia was supposed to militarily defend Venezuela and engage into war with the United States so that they would not lose their ally. Russia was supposed to fight for Venezuela, and they didn't. Russia was supposed to develop Cuba economically, and they didn't. Russia's incursions in the Western Hemisphere have not provided prosperity to the countries where it has entered. Thus, United States is better off taking care of the hemisphere. China and Iran are also gone. China is supposed to be providing rice to Cuba as humanitarian aid, as a one-time friendly gift during 2026. And once rice shipments from China stop, it remains to be seen if China will actively engage in recovering rice production industry of Cuba. China and Russia inroads in Latin America seem a fight and power struggle between nuclear powers rather than genuine interest in the well-being of Latin American and Caribbean nationals. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent is asking the international community to relax and watch magic happen regarding Greenland. New protectorates of the United States, Venezuela and Greenland should work together as desires of our populations must be taken into account for the political future of the United States as it prepares to increase its territory and its citizenry. Perhaps Danish and Spanish will need to be incorporated as official languages of the United States, just as Switzerland and Canada have many official languages. Invasions of Greenland and Venezuela shall eradicate forever the anachronistic notion that United States should be a monolingual English-only country, which is often a motive for ridiculing Americans for only learning one language while the rest of the world is fluent in various languages. Donald Trump at Davos, Switzerland, has offered Venezuela, "We will make more money during the next 6 months than during the last 20 years. This is so exciting. Donald Trump will be able in only 6 months to compensate for decades of economic mismanagement. Of course, that is thanks to mastermind of President Delcy Rodríguez, who is able to accommodate an extensive wish list from Marco Rubio and Donald Trump and the Chavista base. Lots of negotiations are making possible that Venezuela will be the turnaround of the 21st century, from economic chaos to abundance in just a few months. This Venezuela recovery deal would perhaps turn in history as Donald Trump's greatest lifelong achievement. Donald Trump claims that most petroleum companies he has spoken to are already engaged in investing in Venezuela. All they are waiting for is Venezuela's approval of new updated hydrocarbon law, for which later today the National Assembly will continue speedy discussions. Donald Trump and Delcy Rodríguez are so similar. They both emphasize economic statistics. Many of them are unsupported by independent research. However, they are always on the move for increasing their numbers, while other world leaders just remain ideological. Make Argentina great again and make Venezuela great again are trending topics every day. Delcy, Trump, and Milei are always looking for economic growth. Therefore, diplomatic relations between Venezuela and Argentina must be restored immediately. But of course, Foreign Minister Ivan Gil is unwilling to concede. It is necessary that President Delcy Rodríguez instructs her foreign minister to improve relations with Latin American countries, and if he fails to do so, she might have to remove him. Similarly, Minister of Interior of Justice Diosdado Cabello should free remaining political prisoners, and if he is blocking such release, he should also be removed. President Delcy Rodríguez needs to increase her grip on the government. She might lose support from hardline Chavistas, but she should gain considerable support not only from Donald Trump's administration, but also from Venezuela's opposition, not aligned with extremist, corrupt career politicians that failed to bring liberty into Venezuela. White House announces forthcoming visit of President Delcy Rodríguez into the United States to receive red carpet treatment and speak to Donald Trump. Delcy Rodríguez will enter the White House through red carpet and will hold press conferences with Donald Trump, with the flags of the United States and Venezuela properly displayed, and everything will be organized by Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who knows how to promote scenic decorations for United States official meetings. United States may be losing some allies over Greenland, but United States has certainly gained Venezuela with all its oil and rare earth reserves. Venezuela and United States combined are proving the world that Western Hemisphere is here to stay. Both America and Venezuela are seeking multi-billion-dollar investments during the next 5 years, which are the remainder of Delcy Rodríguez presidency, as presidential elections in Venezuela have already been scheduled for the year 2030, and that should provide ample time for the opposition to regroup. Venezuelans have no time to engage in political campaigning and slogans and other distracting activities, as our focus is exclusively on economic growth. Drill, baby, drill. Mark Rutte from NATO and Donald Trump have initiated an agreement for United States sovereignty on Greenland regarding defense of the Arctic. Mark Rutte from NATO is more important than the Danish foreign minister. As a result, there will be no tariffs against European countries, and the Arctic will be happy. Board of Peace will be shortly announced at Davos, Switzerland, and will be comprised by the following countries, substituting United Nations: Albania, Argentina, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Egypt, Hungary, Indonesia, Israel, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Morocco, Pakistan, Qatar, Paraguay, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, United States of America, Uzbekistan, and Vietnam. All of these countries will from now on ensure peace in Gaza and elsewhere, as United Nations has proven ineffective. Venezuela's recent case, where we had constant calls for Security Council and none of those countries were able to satisfy Venezuelans' efforts for peace and economic development. It was necessary for Donald Trump to remove Maduro and install Delcy in the presidency so that economic growth could flow into our country. The Board of Peace is expected to devise similar out-of-the-box strategies for effectively solving problems in the world due to continued United Nations inefficiencies. Hopefully, Venezuela will sooner than later be incorporated into the Board of Peace. The problem is that we would have to pay $1 billion just to enter, and for the time being, we must reduce inflation and ensure economic growth and significantly increase gross domestic product per capita, as our population is mostly experiencing economic challenges. However, in the medium term, Venezuela should be able not only to pay $1 billion for Board of Peace, but also a significant amount of money that is owed to United Nations. It has been infuriating to see that Venezuelan diplomacy has always requested United Nations assistance, while Venezuela has failed to pay dues to United Nations with the excuse that we are experiencing sanctions. However, many of such sanctions are expected to be lifted in the near future. Therefore, Venezuela should concentrate in paying dues to the United Nations so that we can have right to vote in General Assembly. When you see vote counts of countries in United Nations for various issues, Venezuela's space is always blank, as we are not allowed to vote because we are delinquent in failed payments to the United Nations. That is infuriating and humiliating. Even Cuba has paid its dues to the United Nations. Venezuela's foreign minister has a lot to modify in its foreign policy dealings, and if he fails to do so, he should be removed and replaced by someone else more business-friendly. When President Delcy Rodríguez speaks to her socialist page, her discourse is boring. However, when she speaks to the investment community, everything becomes hope. We will continue monitoring variations in Delcy Rodríguez's discourse regarding the audience she is addressing. She needs to instruct her socialist base on how to take advantage of market efficiencies while she needs to continue promoting confidence in the Venezuelan and international business and diplomatic community, especially when the foreign minister is not doing his job properly. As Venezuelan economy improves during the year 2026, and Donald Trump continues supporting Delcy Rodríguez government, Caribbean and Latin American governments will need to recognize our system. Reconciliation between Latin American countries and Venezuela will be extremely hard as Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Iván Gil, continues writing communiques deploring actions of Latin American countries. We must remember that we are enduring a regime that stole presidential elections in 2024, has been given an opportunity until the year 2030 by Donald Trump to continue due to inefficiencies of fascist opposition. So the Venezuelan foreign minister should take a break in complaining to other countries which actually have a case and concentrate in restoring strained relationships. Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Ecuador, Guatemala, El Salvador, many of those countries must restore relations with Venezuela for the sake of economic growth, and they might have an initial hard time following Donald Trump's lead in recognizing Delcy Rodríguez interim government. It remains to be seen whether President Delcy Rodríguez will have the courage of removing Iván Gil and appointing a Latin American-oriented foreign minister who would pacify proper complaints that Latin American and Caribbean countries have placed upon Venezuela's regime during many years. While Canada is quickly replacing Venezuela as China's preferred base of operations in the Western Hemisphere, China will not save Canada from being invaded by the United States as the time comes. Canada, Greenland, and Venezuela are protectorates of the United States, as decided by Donald Trump when he placed American flags in the maps of our countries. Canada, just as Denmark, has arrogantly despised Venezuela for regime change, and now Canada and Denmark and Greenland might soon follow Venezuela within the American sphere of influence. Although China is selling electrical vehicles into Canada through a new trade agreement, and Canada will sell to China the petroleum that it can no longer sell to the United States because the United States now prefers Venezuela rather than Canada. Venezuela is instantly becoming United States' most reliable ally in just a matter of weeks. As Venezuela, Greenland, and Canada initiate the process of becoming states of the Union, American citizens will have to debate in Fox News and other monolingual venues that perhaps Spanish, Danish, and French will need to become official languages of the United States as well.